You may think I'm filming this at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not. It's 4 p.m, but it's pitch black outside. We get about 3 hours of sunlight a day. Usually I film these Q&As downstairs, but I thought seeing as it's pitch black, we can make it a little bit more cozy. Talking about all things second trimester. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I think we're gonna have some special guests come and join.
Wait there.
Yeah, it's kind of in the background, yeah.
Come on in.
But yeah, basically put a Q&A on Instagram asking with all of your second trimester questions and everything you want to know my perspective of, maybe. And a lot of them are quite similar, so I feel like this won't be too long and dragged out. And then we do have a guest that can chime in when he wants to and give his verdict when he wants to. Let's start with, when did you start buying for the baby? I'm 12 weeks and not sure when to start. So we didn't actually buy a thing until we found out what the gender was. We bought a teddy to tell people with. Tell a lie, we bought the car seat because the car seat was on back order and was due to take, like, they said it was like a 3-month wait. So we ordered that, I think, really quite early. But as far as like clothes, anything like that, we didn't buy a thing until we knew what he was. I want to buy for like him specifically and have like be able to picture what we're having. It's completely like personal preference, I'd say. But we found out what he was at 17 weeks, I believe, 17 or 18 weeks. And then from there we've just been on one big fat shopping spree basically. Let's just move from the bottom up. When did your sickness stop? Actually, there's a lot on sickness. When does your sickness stop? Have you had any sickness through your pregnancy? If so, did this carry on to the second trimester? Best tip for sickness and tiredness all day, every day. So I have touched on this, I think, on literally every platform now. But yes, I had really bad sickness. I put it down to the prenatals that I was on. So I'm probably not the best person to come for positive, I don't know, not advice, but like a positive outcome. I stopped taking the prenatal, interrupted by my dog. Honestly, what is wrong with you? Yeah, I stopped taking the prenatals at 20 weeks and all of my sickness went pretty much. I think I've been sick like 3 times since stopping them. So in the past like 2 months. But the sickness that I have had has literally been really out of the blue. Been sick and then been absolutely fine. Whereas the sickness before that was like all day, every day. If you are being really sick, I'd say play around with the prenatals. I'm not going to say don't take them, stop taking them, because that's obviously your own personal preference. Even when we hope we have a second child, I still probably will take prenatals just because I think you want to do everything by the book and do everything right, and if anything went wrong, I wouldn't want to like blame myself. But I would definitely play around with different ones. Also maybe try like taking what's in them separately. So like I maybe would take like iron separate to folic acid and take everything you need as separate vitamins, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you're being really sick, maybe play around with that, because that could be playing a part. Tiredness, I wouldn't say the tiredness goes.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say you're as tired now as what you were before.
Yeah, but then I think being sick plays a part in that. Like, yeah, that's probably true.
I don't think you're
I'm not as tired as I was the first time. I mean, sorry, in the first trimester. That is like a whole new level of exhaustion actually, where you just want to sleep all the time. You've got no energy to do anything. So that does get easier. Do you plan to breastfeed? Yes, I do plan to breastfeed. Obviously, all of these things can change, but at the moment, that is my plan. This is something that I've not really spoken to about with my midwife and stuff, but my plan is basically to breastfeed, but also use bottles, just so Jamie can feed him at certain times. Yeah, they can have that like time to bond as well. Hopefully not use formula, just use breast milk in bottles, but I think people say not to pump in the first couple of weeks of breastfeeding and stuff. So again, I'll speak with my midwife on that and stuff like that. But yeah, my plan is to breastfeed and then pump, and like Jamie can help bottle feed, and other people in the family I'm sure will want to feed him and stuff, so it just allows everyone to be involved. And also the way my mind kind of works on it is the sooner like we introduce him to drinking from a bottle, like the less things I have to introduce him to later on, the better, if that makes sense. Like if we can get him used to the boob and the bottle really early on, so it's just weaning him off the boob, I hope this makes sense, that's better for me than to try and like combine getting him used to a bottle and weaning him off the boob at the same time. Yeah, but in a nutshell, yes, I do plan to breastfeed.
Same.
You said you and Jamie thought you knew what you were having. Were you both right?
No. Couldn't be further.
Couldn't be further. Well, it was a 50-50 guess, but we couldn't have been more wrong. I think, basically, when me and Jamie first started talking about having kids and stuff, I won't say the name, but we had a name for a girl that we both loved. And I think, like, without realising, we'd kind of, like, pictured the child, regardless of what the child was going to be. Because we loved the name that we had so much, which was a girl's name, I think we just pictured ourselves having a girl. Not necessarily, like, having any preference, but just because we liked the name so much, it was like, let's use the name Abby. So it was Abby. We'd be like, oh, like, Abby would like to do this, or Abby could go to school there. And we used that, would you say that's right? We used the name as like
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah. Girls' bathroom. We used that name as like to envision our child. And I think then subconsciously we just thought we'd like manifested a girl. The only time I think I personally changed my mind to a boy was I felt him kick at like really early on, like 16 weeks, and I like come out and I was like, I felt him kick, and Jamie was like, him. And I was like, oh my god, like, because we'd literally been saying like she, hadn't we? We'd been calling her the name, and again, it wasn't because we wanted one over the other, it was just, I hope that, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, we did do that.
But then a lot of like the old wives' tales really was like heavily, it's a girl. Yeah, no, we were very, very wrong. I think you more so was more dead set it was a girl.
Yeah,
more so than me.
I was pretty convinced.
You can see in like, maybe I'll put, I've never actually put it on YouTube. I'll put our like gender reveal. We just done it, the two of us. That's another question actually that I'll touch on, but I'll put it in now, and I think you can see on our faces that we were so shocked. The gender reveal, just the two of you. Yes, again, I don't know if I touched on this in the like pregnancy Q&A, but I think this was more my choice than Jamie. I don't really think, he is still here in the wardrobe, he can shout. I don't think he massively had a preference. I really just wanted to find out, the two of us. I don't really even have a reason. I just thought it would be nice for our first that it was just like an intimate way of just us finding out. There was also the issue that we had, obviously my family is down south and all of Jamie's family's up here. So if we had the gender reveal down south, people up here would miss out. If we had it up here, people down south would miss out. And it just wasn't fair to have anybody on either side.
Shan't be long.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you. It wasn't fair on anyone either side to miss out. So yeah, that was the reason that we decided. Would I change it? No. The more I see these big gender reveals, I just don't think I'd probably do the same for the next kids now, just because if we even decide to find out. But yeah, that was basically the reason behind it. And I just always liked the idea of us finding out, just the two of us. We then FaceTimed everybody after, and then that way we've got everyone's reactions, like we screen recorded all of everybody's reactions on it. And I think like it gave us time for us to like process it before we then told everyone else. Unless you want like a really big party, I would really recommend just finding out the two of you, having that moment, and then yeah. Sticking on gender, how to deal with gender disappointment. I feel like I can't give too much advice on this because I wasn't disappointed with the gender. That could be because it's our first and we really didn't care what our first was. I think maybe if you're like 3 or 4 children down the road and you've got the same, and you do just really want, say you've got 3 boys and you want a girl, or 3 girls and you really want a boy, then it might be a bit different, but I'm not in that position. But what I will say, and this is me being like very honest, there was a moment after like the excitement of finding out and telling everybody, I think I went to bed that night or the night after and I like panicked about having a boy. The reason I like panicked was I've come from a family of girls. So I have a sister, I've grown up with girl cousins. I was like 10 and 12 when they were born, and like done their hair, taken them shopping. Like I now give like Bonnie makeup, got her ready for school discos and stuff. So I've come from like a really girl oriented family, and I'm not gonna lie, there was like an hour where I really panicked and I was like, what am I gonna bond with this baby boy over? Like, I don't like football, I don't like dinosaurs or race cars or tractors, and like, don't get me wrong, like I know when you have kids you just do anything to make your kids happy and stuff, but I did panic and I was like, Jamie's gonna be able to play football with him in the garden and all of these things, and I was like, what am I going to be able to do with him? And I think that's because I've been so heavily like girl my whole life. So even though that's not kind of like gender disappointment, I think there was a moment that I panicked and I was like, oh my god, like what am I going to have in common with this baby? And all of my friends have had girls and all stuff like that. But so yeah, I think if that's kind of how you're feeling, I can relate to that. Or if you are feeling that, you're not alone. But yeah, when I tell you that was literally like an hour, I felt like that. And like now I say to Jamie, like, I'm so glad we're having a boy first. Like, and kind of going back to like where I've always been surrounded by girls, I always saw me as like a girl mum. And now I don't. I see myself as a boy mum. Like, it's so weird how your like perspective changes. And I mean, down the line, if we're lucky to have 3 children and we get pregnant with the 3rd and we've got 2 boys already, will we maybe have a slight preference to have a girl? Yeah. If you're in this predicament, or this person that's asking that is in this predicament, again, I'm not in that position, but as soon as like this baby is here and put on your chest and is healthy, you will not care what they are, and the love that you will have for them will be absolutely no different. So yeah, I hope that's a really long-winded answer for a question that I can't overly relate to. But have you thought about labour / birth plan? I am in denial that I have to get this baby out. Me and Jamie have watched so many YouTube videos on birth vlogs, and I say to him all the time, I'm like, I'm just in denial that I have to do it. Like, I just think that one day I'm gonna wake up, roll over, and he's just gonna be there. Which I'm not sure if that's a healthy way to think or not. But in all seriousness, I think I'm very chilled out about it. I don't have a strong preference about how I give birth, as long as he is safe and healthy and yeah, gets delivered safely. I don't care. Again, I'm kind of starting the talks with the midwife now about what my preference would be. Am I going to turn down an epidural? Absolutely not. Just because the least pain I have to go through, the better. But then, like, on another note, I want to do as much of it at home as possible. Like, again, this could all change, because I could be like, yeah, I'm going to stay at home until I'm like 7 centimetres dilated and do most of it at home. I don't know the pain. The pain could hit me and I could go into hospital and be 1 centimetre dilated, and I could be like, fuck, we're not doing this at home. Like, I need painkillers. So again, I feel like you can't plan these things. Because yeah, if I can labour at home until I'm like 7 centimetres dilated and just get to hospital and give birth without an epidural, happy days. I think a lot of people go for like water baths now. That's not really my preference. I feel like I'll use the bath at home for pain relief, because they say it is a really good relief of pain. I mean, I'm getting in the bath now with really bad backache. I mean, as far as kind of my birth plan and things like that go, I don't have one. I will do as I'm told and do as I'm advised to do. Obviously, I think it's good to have a rough idea of what you want or what you really don't want, but like, it can so easily change. I'm like, why am I going to get my hopes up on something that the complete opposite could happen, you know? So, did you have any early scans before your NHS one? Yes, we paid for one at 7 or 8 weeks. I guess that's personal preference. I would recommend it. I feel like for us, it was a way of it sinking in, because obviously when you're that early, obviously then you've got to wait a couple of months until you have your 12-week scan. You're not feeling kicks, you've not got a bump. So I do feel like the first couple of weeks are a real like mind fuck, basically. There's so much to like mentally adjust to, especially if it's a surprise and you're like not planning it. So yeah, for us, I feel like if anything, it was a way of us going and seeing the little, I mean, it's like a tiny little bean, but he had a heartbeat at that point. And it's just a way of it like sinking in and being like, there's something really in there. So yeah, I would recommend it. Have you felt like pregnancy has been a lonely process? No. And the reason I'm kind of like thinking about it is because I can imagine it is a lonely process. The reason it hasn't been for me, for starters, I'm glad he's not here, but giving Jamie credit where credit's due, he has been the best like support, I guess, for me. And it's tough because a lot of these things is like, well, why are you praising that behaviour when it's literally just what the partner should be doing? And like, yeah, I agree with that. But I think unfortunately a lot of people aren't in that position where they have supportive partners. But as far as Jamie goes, like, there's nothing. He rushes home from football every day to like be with me and spend time with me. He generally puts me and this baby above everything he does. Or like every decision he makes and everything he does, like he has us in mind. And I say us now because like some of the decisions that he is making now is like future like career plans and stuff like that, and they are all putting this baby ahead of maybe what he wants or what we would want if it was just the two of us. And then so like from the kind of big things to little things, like if we've just got into bed and I'm like, I'm so thirsty, I need a glass of water, he will go down and get me a glass of water. When I was really unwell, he would go out and get me normally McDonald's fries because that's all I could eat, but nothing's been like, I don't think I've ever once had like an eye roll or anything like that. And like he's so invested in it, like every midwife appointment he wants to be at, like he wants to know everything, any changes in how I'm feeling, all these things. Like I can talk to him about it and he's generally like there and listening and taking it in. And but then the reason why I can't imagine pregnancy to be lonely is like how you're feeling. And no matter how many times I could say like I'm feeling like this, or I've just woken up one day and I'm like sad, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm sad, I don't know the reason behind it, there's no reason why I'm in a mood, or my mood changes and I'm just gone from like being completely normal to being a real stroppy little bitch. And I feel like no matter how supportive your partner is or the people around you are, there's obviously things going on in your body that they can't relate to, which is where I think it could be lonely in pregnancy. And again, the reason why I say I've not felt lonely is I'm so lucky that two of like my closest friends are pregnant at the same time. One of my best friends, Paige, she's 6 weeks ahead of me, and then one of my best friends, Lex, she's like 4 or 5 weeks ahead of me. So having them just those like extra few weeks ahead, any kind of like tiny thing like that I think could be wrong or I'm worried about, or I just need like a bit of reassurance about, I've texted them and been like, are you getting pains when you sneeze, or are you getting cramps in your calves when you're asleep? Like, and they're like, yep, that's normal. I've been like so sad for no reason, is this normal? And they're like, yep, had that. Because they're going through it as well. Yeah, I don't feel like I've felt lonely because of those reasons. I can imagine how it does feel lonely if you haven't got people like that around you, or, and obviously that can't be helped. You can't like force your mate to get pregnant, so you know how like, so you can like reassure each other. But if you are feeling a bit like lonely and alone in it all, speak to someone that you know that has been pregnant fairly recently. I mean, your mum or whoever that done it 20 years ago. Like I talked to my mum about so many things now, she's like, oh, in my day that weren't a thing. So if you know anyone that's been pregnant recently that you feel close enough to be like, is this normal, or I've just been really sad today for no reason, that you can kind of like confide in. I think surrounding yourself by good people is really important. Have you felt baby moving yet? What did it feel like? This kid does backflips in my stomach 24/7. Like I mentioned earlier, I first started feeling him, I think at like 16, 17 weeks, but it was like once a week, and it was like a little bubble that you could barely notice. Properly kick in, I started feeling him about 6 weeks ago, and now it's like all day, every day. What did it feel like? Yeah, the first one was like a bubble. It was literally like a bubble just popped in my stomach, and it could, like, you could so easily mistake it for like your belly rumbling or like gassy air. But now it literally feels like an alien. It's like I can feel him roll, like I can feel like arms and legs and stuff. But for me personally, and this is actually a question which I think's a nice one to finish on, is like, what's been the most enjoyable part of your second trimester? And for me, the most enjoyable part has been feeling him like move, because there is a lot of shit things that come with pregnancy. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I should maybe stop talking because it keeps cutting me out. But yeah, I feel like there's so many shitty things that come with being pregnant, like the sickness, the tiredness, the backache, the acid reflux, everything. Like your body completely changing, your mentality completely doing a 180, your emotions are everywhere. Like there's all of these things that aren't particularly enjoyable. Then like you feel him kick, and just I think it kind of just snaps you back to like why you're doing it. Yeah, definitely hands down that's been the best part of the second trimester. And anyone going into their second trimester, like that really is something to look forward to. Like Jamie feels him all the time, like he kicks when Jamie speaks to him. Oh, another thing I've really enjoyed about the second trimester is buying everything, like his clothes, doing the nursery. Like, yeah, we've got 12 weeks to go and then he will be here. I can't decide whether, I say this to everyone all the time, I'm like, I can't decide whether I feel like I've been pregnant forever or if it's gone really quick. But yeah, I will stop rambling at you guys now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one.